It's the SKOR North Twins Show. Baseball.
Oh, they're playing baseball, all right. SKOR North Twins Show. Mackie, Judd, Dex. It's been a rough week for the Twins. We're going to get into it here on the State of the Twins every Monday here on the SKOR North Twins Show YouTube channel, plus our podcast feeds. We'll have a Trevor Plouffe Tuesday tomorrow, so stick around for that. I believe Coach Trev back on the call this weekend at Target Field, actually, when the Brewers come back to town, so that'll be exciting. All right, boys, let's talk about this. This has not gone well. Here's your overview. I've added some other categories as well, other nuggets in this. The Twins are now 36-35 on the season. They're a game over 500. They remain in second place in the AL Central, 9 games back of the Tigers, but a half game out of the wild card picture. So if the playoffs started today, the Twins would not be a playoff team. Over the last 10 games, the Twins have gone 2-8, and they have a minus 41 run differential in those 10 games. Not good. Offensive categories. They're 17th in runs scored. They're 18th in team OPS. They're 7th in runners in scoring position. But these next categories have taken a hit in the last week. Team ERA is now 15th in Major League Baseball. This was in the top 10 at one point, I think even one of the top 5 when they were playing very well about a few weeks ago. Their starter ERA has fallen to 16th, and their bullpen ERA is 14th. Now, these were all in the top 10s a week ago. Now, the starter ERA will balloon when you allow 14 and 12 runs, and even, I think, 14 more runs against the Athletics in 10 days. So that will balloon the ERA a little bit. Playoff odds, the Twins are a 9.8% chance to make the playoffs according to Baseball Reference. That is down almost 20% in the last week. Fangraphs has the Twins at 41%, which is down 17% from last week. So, vibe check. Judley, do you want to start us off with a vibe check on this reeling Twins team?
Oh, sure. Yeah. You know what? The vibes are unraveling again. So this team got off to a 13-20 start, okay? And during that, we basically said, well, they're probably dead. But then they came back and went 16-2. 16-2 in the next 18 games. So now they're 29-22 and they are back. And since then, they have gone 7-13 to sit at 36-35. They are, thank God, off today before they start a 3-game series in Cincinnati. But unraveling, you now have 4 consecutive losses. You've lost 8 of 10. You've lost 5 of your past 6 series. Royce Lewis is on the IL again because of a hamstring. Pablo Lopez, who, if you look at when he went out and the record since then, and I know he does not play every day, he's a starting pitcher, but they have completely gone in the crapper since then. Byron Buxton now didn't play on Sunday because of a bruised elbow. They think he'll be fine, but they always think that. I actually want to see him play again. They are unraveling again, and man, I mean, it is incredibly frustrating to see this team go 16-2 and sort of get back to, as Phil said at the time, where they belonged in the first place, or we thought. And now they have gone 2-8 in their past 10. By the way, quick note: Cleveland, Kansas City, the Twins, all 2-8 in their last 10.
Yeah. Man, you know what? I'm gonna go big picture on you guys here. The Twins vibes, the last week, I guess, would be the downside of this. But the Twins vibes through the first 3 months of the season are basically the Twins vibes through the entire Derek Falvey era and regime. And I'm not putting it all on Falvey, by the way. They've dealt with crazy, unlucky injuries to star players. But this is what it is. Like, since 2017, there's been a lot of times, and sometimes like 2019 seasons, where you thought, this is a high-end baseball club with star talent. They've got some pieces in that bullpen. You got a couple, 2-3 really nice starting pitchers. And man, if only Byron Buxton and Royce Lewis and maybe someone else, whoever the veteran du jour is. Right now it's Carlos Correa. For a while it was Josh Donaldson early on in that tenure. Boy, if you could just get these pieces to all stay on the field at the same time, like it's literally been 8 years of that. And this season is a microcosm for the last 9, basically. Boy, there's the bones of a really good team here. You got some pitching, you got some bullpen pieces. If only Buxton and Lewis and the veteran du jour, Carlos Correa, could stay healthy, they could maybe do some damage and make a playoff run. But here we are. It's like, I know we'll do more on the Royce Lewis thing, but once again, hamstring, IL, Buxton. I think it's a short-term thing with Buxton here, but he was in the lineup yesterday, and they scratched him, which was kind of a weird move. And now they sit here like just toiling, trying to maybe make a wild card spot. It's not anyone's. I know people want someone to blame, right? Why is Lewis injured all the time? Why is Buxton hurt? Why is Pablo Lopez hurt? Some of it's just bad luck and baseball injuries. You're going to fire another trainer? Is that going to solve it? Let's fire the 5th trainer in the last 15 years at Target Field and see what happens. It's a buzzkill. It's a buzzkill.
By the way, I went down to the third base lounge of Target Field, and my sister was at a game on Wednesday, so I went down and said hi to her and the family. We have Josh Donaldson's portrait in the third base lounge. You know how they put up the third baseman? Do we really need to add Josh Donaldson? Like, I know he was a really good player basically before he got here, and the numbers weren't bad here. Like, they weren't awful. But do we really need a Josh Donaldson symbol in the third base lounge at Target Field? Seemed a little unnecessary to me.
It seems a little, yeah, I don't know. Apparently someone emailed in and said Target Center has an Andrew Wiggins mural like in the second deck. I have not confirmed
I got to go upstairs and find that one. That's awesome. They just forgot to cover it.
The vibes for me are obviously, they're concerning. It was one thing when they got off to the poor start to begin this season, but I know Royce was out during that run when they started poorly, but you still had the bones of this team intact, and it felt like, okay, they're not probably going to be as bad as this. Then they basically repeat what they did last year, and they go on an absurd run in May. But now Pablo out through basically maybe even the whole season, but definitely into September. Royce Lewis back on the injured list. We'll see what the severity is, but not obviously a good sign when the guy hurts his hamstring again. I just think there's probably too much here that is way too concerning. And at this point, and maybe it dovetails into my favorite thing, which is a league thing. It has nothing to do with the Twins. That the fact Rafael Devers gets traded last night. I mean, that you don't. Number one, I love that Boston potentially traded away another core superstar player to a West Coast team, but you don't see those type of trades happen this early in the deadline. And does that start movement? Because I don't think the Twins are ready to hit the sell right now button. But with all the injuries that are piling up and where this is going, I don't know, man. I don't think you can overcome this starting pitching woes and more injuries to Royce. They're concerning vibes.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Can we have the Royce Lewis? Can we do you want to do that's a hijack, but can we do least favorite Royce Lewis here?
Yeah.
Because it's just his comments. I'll read these quotes. I'm getting these from the Star Tribune.
Yeah, I read them Sunday morning.
More and more, he's just getting, and I can't blame him, just existentially exhausted by all of this. So he said it's a hamstring. He did say that he was readying himself to pinch hit the next day, and he'd rather have just been left off the injured list. But that's kind of been Rice for years, which is, hey, I'm ready to go right now. And maybe there's some truth like that he would be more of a warrior with some of this stuff, and it's the team holding him back and whatever. But like he said, I'm tired of being the one who's being bullied and picked on by this game, whether it wants me to suffer on the offensive side or when I'm going hot, it just wants to kick me out with an injury. Seems like the game is picking on me at this moment, and so I'm waiting for one of my friends to pick me up and stop this bully. I feel terrible for him. I don't know. I mean, it's, again, people want to blame someone, right? Like blame the trainers, or does he not do enough yoga in the off season? Why does he keep pulling these muscles? I mean, I think you have to trust that he's doing everything that he possibly can, and his body is just like clearly not in a place to handle playing professional baseball on a day-to-day basis.
It's Buxton, though, 2.0. Like that's what's so sad about it. Like, these are two potentially generational guys, right? Like, who came along. Two, high draft picks, both when they can play can be special. And what tantalizes you, what's so frustrating is we've seen it. Like, we've seen both of these guys do special things, and it's like, oh my God, if you could have that guy play consistently, and we're not asking for a ton here. We're basically asking for them not to get hurt. But with Byron, it just became, twice or three times a year. There was always something. And it feels like we're going down the exact same path, which is so weird. Because, what are the odds that two players who have this much talent for the same team, separated by a few years, have the exact same problem? And it's frustrating for them. It's frustrating for the Twins. As a fan, it absolutely sucks. But, at some point in time, it's not bad luck. It just is what it is. And yeah, I don't have the defining reason, but man, is it a buzzkill when this happens. The worst part too is when it happens this much, it's not a surprise now too. Like Royce got hurt and I'm like, oh yeah, okay. That's a really, really sad thing to say.
Do you remember the good old days when people used to savage Joe Mauer for lacking durability?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, this morning, I just went to his baseball reference. So Joe Mauer played 15 seasons in the major leagues. Of course, the first one was immediately cut off with like a meniscus injury.
Yeah.
Classic Joe Mauer, right? In those 15 seasons, Mauer played 120 or more games, 11 out of 15 seasons, mostly at catcher, by the way.
Yeah.
He played 130 or more games in 9 of the 15 seasons. And I think you and I, Judd, on our old radio show came to his defense a lot more often than the other way around. But like, it was deemed, oh, Mauer, you had the afternoon drive host on a sports radio station. How long will Mauer milk it? He had literally had like a daily segment. Joe Mauer is Cal Ripken Jr. is Lou Gehrig compared to Byron Buxton and Royce Lewis. And I'm not trying to like make fun of Buxton and Lewis. It's factual. If you could get 130 games out of Byron Buxton every year or Royce Lewis.
Parade.
Oh my gosh. And this team would be awesome. Instead of averaging, I looked this up here right before the show too, 84 wins per season, percentage. There's one shortened season, but 84 wins per season during the Derek Falvey era. Well, he would say, yeah, well, if my two cornerstone players could play 120 or 130 games, that 84 would be probably closer to 90 or higher average wins over the 9 years of his tenureship running the organization.
Yeah, I remember when the injury happened, the hamstring injury in spring training. The fear was that Royce was going to miss the whole year, like that. So it was a pretty brutal hamstring tear. So now again, I don't know the severity of it. That's really too bad. And when you have these soft tissue injuries, which he has had a lot of, you are more prone to suffering another one. Like that is a fact. So that's not just necessarily bad luck. It's the situation that your body now has to deal with when you've already had one soft tissue injury like that with, the hamstring. He's had the quad. He's had 2 ACL tears. The soft tissue injuries can pop up more frequently. I would say one of my other least favorite things, if we're going to just continue going down least favorite things, is the fact that finally the Guardians are cooling off and the Twins have been also exhausted by the same fire extinguisher. I mean, how Cleveland remains to be over 500 and near it, despite a horrible, a negative run differential and starting pitchers you really can't name as much as like you used to. The fact they've been able to do this was great, but you kind of thought long term this is going to level off. Finally, they're leveling off. I mean, Kansas City has also been pretty brutal over the last stretch, too. And there was a runway here where you might not catch the Tigers, but you could probably distance yourselves from Cleveland and Kansas City. That was the goal. I mean, they're 9 games back now, but like, I didn't think the Twins were about to go on this run where they're going to catch Detroit. But now with Cleveland and Kansas City reeling, the Twins reeling, just like another huge missed opportunity. And by the way, because this is the exhaustive one we're probably going to talk about a lot, they're already behind the 8 ball in the season series with Cleveland and Kansas City. So tie-breaking situations, that's going to be an issue. Well, the best way you avoid that is by having a better record than them. And right now they're still jam-packed in the Central.
Yeah, it is crazy that they're still second place in this division with how bad of a week they had. And it's like 3 generational ass kickings that they took between these last 2 State of the Twins episodes among those losses. And to look over and be like, wow, the Royals have lost 6 straight, and like the Guardians and the Royals have lost. The hottest team beneath Detroit is the White Sox, who have lost 5 in a row but are 4-6 in their last 10 games. and just trying to scratch their way to avoid 100 losses. But yeah, this was a great opportunity to just kind of play some 500, even if you're not on fire, just play some 500 baseball while Pablo is out and maintain a cushion there over the Guardians. And that did not happen.
No, it did not.
My least favorite thing, let's beat a dead horse because I think it's worth it. Carlos Correa, okay? So like at a time,
Get his ass.
At a time when you desperately need a guy who is averaging $33.3 million in salary on a team that has substantially cut payroll in the past 2 years, he entered Sunday slashing 220, 238, 293 in the past 10 games with no home runs and 3 RBIs. He then went 0 for 4 on Sunday, and in the series against the Stros was 1-for-12. By the way, you as a team in the 3 games, all defeats of course, went 0 for 15 with runners in scoring position where you had been good going into the weekend. But Carlos Correa, like, I understand guys are out. I understand that makes it more difficult, but you were re-signed here to be a star. And eye test wise, I also think his play at shortstop in like the past couple of weeks has declined. He's not making some of the plays that he did at one time, which is the one thing earlier in the season I was holding on to. Well, he's still making all the plays. Platinum Gold Glove guy, right? Dude, you got to do better. Like, you need more. And I don't know if there's something wrong. I don't know if his feet still hurt. I don't know if there's a residual effect of something else. But I mean, Carlos Correa, I think it's fair to say to this point, overall cumulative, he's been a bust. And you can't afford that for what you're paying him. I don't care who's playing and who's not playing alongside him.
By the way, he still has 3 guaranteed years left on his contract, 32.8 million, 31.8, and 31.3. And then there's 4 years of team options that kick in. They're like vesting options. So you wouldn't have to worry as much about those. But right now, if you had to make a decision, you would just look to like literally get rid of him for the next 3 years because he looks like a shell of the player he was. Now, he's shown flashes when he's been healthy.
Yes.
But in the 4 years that you have now had him, some of it productivity related, some of it health related, he has been nothing close to the player that you originally acquired during that weird kind of free agency period back in 2023. Yeah, it is. And you're trying to hide him. You don't want to insult him too much by putting him too low in the order, but it's like, can you throw him 6th or 5th in the order? It's like,
yeah, you're kind of stuck.
This dude should be batting 2nd or 3rd for you every single night and be the heartbeat of this lineup. And he has been a drag on it, quite frankly. And his OPS plus is 82, which is essentially 18% worse than league average. You're paying over $30 million for a well below league average OPS plus, and you're almost halfway through the season. It's tough.
How about you put some Grandpa's barbecue on that, huh? Let's put some BBQ, some dry rub, some sauces. I don't know which one Carlos likes more. I'll put them anywhere on as long as it makes them start hitting a little bit. Go to grandpasbarbecue.com to learn more. Twin Show listeners also get free shipping on orders over $50 or more. And also, when you support Grandpa's Barbecue, it also supports xeroderma pigmentosum, which is a rare genetic disorder. So you're helping out also a great cause. Go to grandpasbarbecueshop.com to place your order.
Also, hey, if you're not getting your fix from the local team right now this summer, you can look ahead to a couple weeks from now when some of the best international soccer is coming to town at US Bank Stadium, the quarterfinals of the 2025 CONCACAF Gold Cup. US Bank Stadium, Sunday, June 29th. You get to see 2 epic matches with 1 ticket. Some of the biggest stars from across the region battle it out in this high-stakes Gold Cup quarterfinal doubleheader. Ticketmaster.com for tickets, or you can check out goldcup.org/tickets. The Gold Cup coming to town.
All right, we can talk some favorite things here, too. I mean, I know I mentioned the Devers trade happening, and what does that mean for the rest of teams making trades at the deadline. I will say, though, on the field for the Twins, we're shouting out. I know he was my favorite thing last week, too, and just talking about him a little bit more, but Brooks Lee does continue to hit. He's now riding a 15-game hitting streak, so he's up that from 10 to 15 from the last time we talked. on State of the Twins. Over that span, hitting .350, slugging .533, and 900 OPS. He's just a solid hitter, dude. You're seeing why that this was one of the highly touted prospects out of baseball. He had a back injury last year that hurt him. He was slowed out to get a little bit this year too. And even though the numbers at times, I felt like even before this hitting streak, I thought there was a better player in there than what the numbers would suggest. And now you're seeing here over the course of a 15-game hitting streak, I mean, he has been their biggest bright spot probably over these last 10 games where they've been pretty brutal. So Brooks Lee, putting things together. You talk about core pieces to build around. This is one to build around.
Yeah, I'll give you. So you gave like the recent hot stretch numbers there. If you zoom out even and include some of the colder stretches, but like I'm going to condense into this. He was injured the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then he comes in and he has like a slow start. He only had 2 hits prior to April 22nd because of injury and just kind of a slow start. So since that point, even with a couple little cold stretches baked in, so this is now a 2-month sample, he's batting .284 with an above average OPS plus, and his 162 game pace would be .284 average, 20 homers, 80 RBIs. And the Twins, even getting swept this weekend, are 29-19 when Brooks Lee plays. So he's, with his glove, his versatility, just his bat coming on, I think he's a winning piece. I do think he's a long-term winning piece, and he also just kind of looks like a hitter. Looks like a ball player.
Oh, he looks like a ball
player.
player.
His name is Brooks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I think he's your shortstop at some point in time. Like he can play short.
The sooner the better, based on our Carlos Correa discussion. Unless he wants to join the party and save this thing at some point, but apparently that's not going to happen.
Any other favorite things for you guys on this great run of Twins baseball over the last 10 games?
Yes, I have one. We should celebrate the death of a great runless streak. Danny Coulomb gave up his first earned runs of the season.
Loogie.
And did you know?
Yep.
This is crazy. Do you know the last time he gave up a run before this weekend?
Yeah. I saw it. So
it was like sometime last year, right?
Nice job, Dex.
Yeah.
St. Cloud State math there.
Sometime last year. So
May 26th of 2024.
Yeah.
Now he was hurt for a while. Like I think he was on the injured list from like the second week in June until kind of later in the season.
Great pickup.
But even with that, his last 9 appearances for Baltimore were scoreless last year, and then he didn't give up a run until the 16th. So Danny Coulomb, start a new one, buddy. That's a hell of a streak.
Start a new streak, and don't get hurt in the middle of it this time, so you can actually see the entire thing through. He's been a great ad. I actually looked. It appears statistically, because I don't watch the Cubs a ton these days, but it looks like Caleb Thielbar has pitched pretty well for the Cubs.
Yeah.
Good for him.
The Cubs are
good.
The
Cubs are legit.
lineup, it's ridiculous.
Michael Busch is a hell of a player. The Cubs are legit. Pete Crow Armstrong. What a trade that was.
Great name.
That's the Baez trade.
5-tool player, or at least 4. Definitely steals some bases.
Absolutely.
Hey,
I've got one for you, too.
Real quick on because teams are moving and shaking, making trades. Just back to the Devers trade thing that Declan brought up earlier. I saw a conspiracy theory among Red Sox Twitter that because the Red Sox ownership group, the Fenway Sports Group or whatever they're calling it now, they just spent a ton of money on a soccer player. Mm-hmm. What team do they own again? Is it
do they own
Liverpool or Man U? Okay.
Hold on a second.
But they dropped like 9 figures on either a transfer or an extension.
Okay.
And it coincided pretty closely with them getting out from the Devers contract here in Boston.
They also are announcing their plans to sell the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay.
So like they're what's the word? They are divesting themselves of a bunch of stuff. Yes, you were correct on the soccer team. Liverpool.
Liverpool. Okay.
Liverpool. But I mean, yeah, that's now in the last 5 years. Xander Bogaerts, who at the time was a stud. Mookie, who is a stud, and now this one. And they got a couple pitchers back? And they sent one down immediately. Jordan Hicks and a pitcher
after
Fleming.
sweeping the Yankees,
I know.
by the way.
I know. Absolutely bizarre. Absolutely weird.
I try not to feel too bad for them. You know, they've won 4 championships.
I don't feel bad for them at all, but it's weird.
In the last 20 years.
What
They're
are you
fine.
doing?
Yeah, they'll be fine.
But you're the Boston Red Sox. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like you literally are you are looking at a guy like Betts and his potential contract like the Twins would.
Correct.
Can't afford that.
Yeah,
and the Dodgers like, okay, we'll take him.
It's weird that for years there was like 3 or 4 teams that just didn't care how much they spent, and Boston was one of them. And now Boston is very conscious for what they're spending on. Anyways, go ahead.
Here's mine.
Baseball.
I know that the Twins didn't win, but as a baseball fan, Saturday afternoon, Joe Ryan v. Hunter Brown was a marvelous baseball game. And Joe deserved better. He pitched great. Hunter Brown is a stud. And that game was great. Also, since he gave up 6 runs on April 20th against the Braves, Ryan has allowed 2 or fewer runs in 7 of 9 starts. He has been fabulous. But that game on Saturday, if you didn't care who won, was a great game to watch.
Yeah, I know. I think sometimes our audience hates when Judd does that, which is like, I know that your team got beat in devastating fashion, but as a sports fan, it was a great watch. But you're right, like it was, and it's also extra buzzkill that Duran feels like he's leaking a little oil, but he's also tied. He's tied with Varland for the most appearances. They are riding this bullpen, at least like the 3 or 4, like 3 guys that they trust the most. Because Jax is so it's Varland and Duran, I believe, tied for the lead in appearances, and then Jax is like 1 behind those guys. Ugh.
Well, get to play a new series tomorrow, so you can start a new streak from there.
Take us out, Dex.
We'll see what happens. Oh God. Well, actually, let's take the temperature of the room with Trevor Plouffe tomorrow. I feel like Plouffe always brings a little bit more optimism, so maybe he's feeling a little bit better about things, or sees things a little bit differently than we do. So we will chat with him tomorrow on the SKOR North Twins Show. Hit the like button and subscribe button here, and we'll be chatting at you tomorrow.